All right, food scarcity part 2, bearindependent.com. I am the bear, oso independiente. That's all the Spanish I know. Dos cervezas, por favor, donde está el baño? Yo quiero Taco Bell. Not really, I don't like Taco Bell. Anyway, food scarcity part 2. I just picked up 1,000 pounds for my brother. You may notice this load in the bed of the truck right there that's been shrink wrapped and duct taped and all that. That's 1,000 pounds of wheat. And thank you, brother. You know who you are. You are tremendous, and I enjoyed spending a moment of time with you just hanging out. So you're awesome. Bless you. Now, I recently did a video and then a post with a PDF on Patreon about how much food do you need, including an Excel spreadsheet, .xls file, so that you can literally plug in how many people and for how long, and it will tell you precisely the amount of food that you need. Dry goods, corn, rice, wheat, and beans, with all the macronutrients, the carbohydrates, the proteins, and the fats, with each of, red wheat, white rice, pinto beans, field corn, dent corn, so forth, so on. So I recently did that. If you're not on Patreon, you should check that out. It's $1. You're welcome. But constantly, I am asked constantly, what kind of food should I get? Well, number one, you should get the kind of food that you eat. Like, for sure. Your pantry, and now most people have one but don't use it for what it's there for. Your pantry should be able to last you a season at minimum. 3 months of food in the pantry. These are things that are shelf stable or relatively shelf stable. I mean, we have in our pantry canned goods that we consume regularly, pasta sauce and pastas, baking goods, leavening, sugar, salt, seasonings, certain sauces and spice mixes that we use. We've got all of that in the pantry. That's our go-to. When we need something, we don't go to the store, we go to the pantry, and then we restock the pantry with things that we buy from the store when we go to town, intentionally, not as an emergency. Oh my gosh, we're out of flour. We are never out of flour. Did I mention there's 1,000 pounds of wheat in the bed of the truck? We don't run out of flour, okay? So forth and so on. So your pantry should have a season, at least, of food in it. I think a good prepper pantry can go a year. Now, the challenge there is having the space to do that, and I totally get it. Our pantry in our house right now is abysmal. It's tiny. And then we have a spare closet that we've put shelves in, did a video on that on Patreon, of backup to our kitchen pantry. That's not food storage. That's the pantry. That's food that's in rotation. It's short-term food storage. It's not long-term food storage. So I would love it if you got to 3 months in your pantry. And you know what you eat. Buy what you eat. What should I buy? That. Right? Pretty much anything will last on a shelf in a can or in a box for 90 days or more, right? Get that up to a year. And then all about the dry goods. 750 pounds per person per year on average. That gives you roughly 3,200 calories per day. Dry weight, roughly 3,200 calories per day. Some people don't need 3,200 calories a day. Some people do. I like to err on the side of caution, so I run 3,200 calories a day per person in my calculation. Now, I have a toddler. She does not eat 3,200 calories per day, but she will at some point. And I don't know when I'm going to have to break into the food stores. So I don't want to be basing my math off of a toddler. I want to be basing my math off of a full-blown adult who is burning lots of calories in a day that need to be replenished, because we are doing things by hand, much more labor intensive, I'm imagining, going forward. And if it turns out we don't need 3,200 calories per day, good. I extended the amount of time that we have food stores for. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. So 750 pounds per person per year works out to 3,200 calories roughly per person per day. Divide that equally between corn, rice, wheat, and beans. Those are your food staples. Now, you're gonna need a grinder, and not a hashish grinder, not one of those things, and not an angle grinder. You're gonna need a grinder to grind your dry goods into flour, or a mill, a grain mill, same thing. There's lots of them available on Amazon. Look for the 4-star and 5-star grinders and grain mills. They're good. They're good for a reason. Pastor Joe has a whole section in his book, whatever it's called. Gosh, I feel terrible now. I should know this. Survivalist Family, Prepared Americans for a Strong America. Good job, brain. So there's a whole section in that book about what grinders to buy and what to use them for. So, get my wife blowing me up. So get a grinder, use it. Learn to use it now while you have the opportunity to play with it now, so that when you need to use it, you know how to use it. You don't want your learning curve to be the moment you need something, right? There's a lot of that in the prepper community. That, oh, we'll just figure it out. I talked about this in the previous video. You're not gonna just figure it out. You need to start doing it. The way that you're going to learn to do these things is by doing them. So start doing them now. So get a 50-pound sack of wheat berries and turn it into whole grain flour and learn to cook with it now, so that you don't have to think about it, so that it's muscle memory, for lack of a better term, when it's time to do the things, when it's time to use them. But you will need a grinder. You'll probably need, we store, like, fats is one of the hardest things to store long term, because eventually they go rancid. They're not shelf stable for very long. We store vegetable shortening, and we store vegetable oil. That and a cast iron pan, or a Dutch oven, or a whatever, something made out of metal that you can fry pancakes in and bake in and whatever. Start doing that now. Get it figured out now. How do you make cornmeal and masa? How do you engage in the process of nixtamalization with your corn, so that you free up the trace minerals in that corn and you don't die from eating field corn? Because there's a common misconception that, well, you can't eat feed corn. Humans only eat sweet corn. Well, what do you think humans ate before we genetically modified corn into sweet corn? We ate field corn or dent corn, feed corn, the same thing that you buy at the feed store. We ate it. The problem is the endosperm, and there's a way to deal with it, and it's called nixtamalization, and you need to learn how to do that now. Adam from the APN, Arkansas Preparedness Network, has a very good video on that you should go watch right now. Nixtamalization. 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 So get your food in buckets. Get your pantry squared away. And then the other thing that I tell people to do is, and I know I sound like a broken record to some of y'all, but if I have to say this 50 times in order for you to get it the 50th time, please just listen. Please just pay attention. Please start doing the things. I advocate that you develop 7 meals that can be made. They're shelf-stable meals that can be made with little effort. 7 meals that you eat regularly. The example that I always use here is spaghetti and meat sauce, because it's easy. And in our family, spaghetti and meat sauce for 6 people is 2 pounds of spaghetti and a big jar of sauce. Do that, multiply times 52. That's a year's worth of that meal. to be 52 jars of sauce and 104 pounds of spaghetti. Buy that. That's one meal. And you buy it, you take advantage of sales. If spaghetti's normally $1 a pound, when it's 40 cents a pound, you buy it on sale. So instead of spending $100 on 100 pounds of spaghetti, you spend $40 on 100 pounds of spaghetti. Same thing with the sauce. Same thing with everything else. So develop what those 7 meals look like and put that in your rotation in your pantry so that at any one point, I've got a year's worth of spaghetti and meat sauce. At any one point, if the truck stopped rolling and the system collapses, right now I've got a year's worth of spaghetti and meat sauce eaten once a week before I got to figure out a replacement for it. That's dinner. Another one is chicken chili, white chili. Easy to make. Open the cans, dump it in a pot, apply heat, stir, serve. Easy to make. Canned chicken, chili beans, package of seasoning, so forth, so on. Green chilies, tomato paste, blah, blah, blah. Dump it all in a pot, heat it up, stir it, put it in a bowl. The end, right? And we like eating it. It's delicious. So you get a year's worth of that stuff stocked up. You do this with 7 meals. That's your dinner rotation. That's your dinner rotation. So if the system goes away, you've got a year's worth of dinner plus your year's worth of dry goods. You're good to go, man. Something else that you can stock is like breakfasts. A lot of people are like, well, yeah, but what about breakfast? Well, figure out how to cook with cereal grains now. Like, do you like oatmeal? Do your kids like oatmeal? Like, figure it out. Figure it out now. Wheat. You can just cook wheat and eat it. I mean, cream of wheat. It's not terribly exciting, but it's food. Eggs, chickens are easy, right? And this gets more into production, but your lunch and your breakfast are probably going to be some type of bread that you baked out of your grains. And FYI, when I say store 750 pounds per person per year, absolutely, don't stop there. Like, I've been prepping for a while now, and I just picked up another 1,000 pounds of wheat. So, watch what I do, as Gary Vaynerchuk would say. Yeah, you can pay attention to what I'm saying, but watch what I do. There's all kinds of reasons why you should be stocking food. Intentional food scarcity, flooding, grand solar minimum, mini ice age, climate change, wars and rumors of wars. Pick your poison. Food is power. Food is independence. You are only as independent from the system as your freedom is predicated on how well you can stay independent from the system. How easily can you remove yourself and keep your distance from the system? If the answer is not very easily or not very long, we're not all that free, are we? So, just a few more thoughts on food storage and food scarcity, man. And another great option, right? So get your pantry squared away, get your dry grains, do the 1 meal or 7 types of meal, 1 per day for a year. And then that way you can buy in bulk. You can buy when things are on sale. You can save a lot of money that way and get your pantry up to a year's worth of rotation. And then another thing that we do, it is SOP, standard operating procedure in our house. If you go to the store, I don't care if it's for 1 stick of butter. If you go to the store, you will buy something useful for preparedness while you are there. It might be a Bic lighter that gets thrown in the bucket full of Bic lighters. It might be a pound of rice, a pound of beans, 1 package of powdered milk. It doesn't matter. You get something useful. We're going to get something useful for now. We're also getting something useful for the future. So preparedness in a lot of ways is being kind to your future self, right? Taking responsibility for your future self. And I think a reason that a lot of people don't engage in this is it's very much like exercise. You have to do the things. You have to be kind to your future self. You have to engage in delayed gratification. So when we go to the store, for whatever reason, SOP is buy something useful for preparedness, right? That this is dedicated preparedness. In fact, I keep a bucket downstairs in our home, in a hallway, in the closet in the hallway. That's the bean bucket. We have lots of buckets with beans, but it's just a bucket that we throw 1 pound sacks of beans in. That if we go to the store and we just happen to buy a 1 pound sack of beans, we throw them in that bucket. And I have many a bucket that's filled with nothing but 1 pound sacks of beans. And it's nice because you can see the progress there. Fill the bucket up. Oh, the bucket's getting full. And then towards the end, it's like, oh, I think about 4 more sacks would fill this thing up. Awesome. Well, you get 2 this week and I'll get 2 this week, and we can cap that thing and move it along, right? On to the next bucket. And I like doing that because it allows you to get incremental wins, right? And so, a pound of beans is $1, man. There's no excuse. It's $1. A pound of rice is what, 42 cents at Walmart? Like, there's no excuse. Just buy the 1 pound package and stack them up. And then they're also useful. These 1 pound packages are useful that if you need to gift food to somebody, or, and I made the statement in my last video on this subject, and it stands, that the SOPs, our ROEs and SOPs change when the balloon goes up. I'm not just handing out food to people, but let me clarify. We do have refugee buckets. Refugee buckets meaning that these are buckets that we can give to people that have useful things, including food in them, away from our home site, away from our food storage sites, away from our assets. Okay? Because I can't, in good conscience, expose my people to the potential threat of having unknowns on our property. Can't do it. But we do have refugee buckets, and having 1 pound bags that you can put into refugee kits, or just, buckets for people that need help. A pound of rice and a pound of beans, man, that's easy to throw into a bucket if it's prepackaged in a 1 pound package. So I like them for that, and I like them for the incremental prepping. Every time you go to the store, just buy something useful. And those are our SOPs, man. Get your pantry squared away. You should have a season's worth of food in your pantry, that if you didn't have to go, or if you couldn't go to the store for 90 days, you'd be fine. Okay? That's a real goal, and it's absolutely attainable. It doesn't matter if you make $800 a month or $800 a day. It's absolutely attainable, and it's something that everybody should be striving for, right? Get your 3-month pantry up. Then start getting your dry grains going. 700, and I know legumes are a bean, or beans are a legume, the best words. Just give me dry goods, grains, just give it to me, okay? Allow me that. Get that going. 750 pounds per person per year. You could get away with 600 pounds per person per year, but I like 750 because, listen, food is power. The more the merrier. Then get your pantry up to a working pantry of a year, and start with those 7 meals times 52, right? And that's your year's worth of dinners, your preparedness dinners. And then from there, man, keep doing the things. Just keep going. Buy, every time you go to the store, be intentional. Buy extra. I mean, when a buddy says, hey, I'm buying wheat, do you want a half ton? Yes. Yes, I do. For $160? Yes, I do. Where can we meet, right? So, also socking away your revenue just a little bit here and there. Well, we've got $8 to add to our prepper revenue this week. Good. Put it in the sock, put it in the drawer, don't think about it. And then when the phone rings and says, hey, I'm buying wheat, you want some? You can go, hey, pull the sock out. How much wheat can we buy? Okay, there's 2 20s and a 10 in there. There's $50. Hey, man, give me $50 worth of wheat. Okay, not a problem, right? There's several hundred pounds of wheat for $50. So eat the elephant one bite at a time. Whatever the excuses are as to why you can't, or why your mom can't, or why your best friend can't, or why whatever, excuses are lies. Jocko Willink. And what's Pastor Joe say? What is the maximum effective range of an excuse? 0 meters, sir. Do the things. Do the things so that you are a liability, not an asset. Shalom.